Hello and welcome to the ThriveMind Studio Podcast. I'm Shelley Finstad, CXO of Techne Innovations. ThriveMind is a space for reflection, care, and meaningful connection, a place to discover, nurture, and grow. This podcast brings that space to life through honest conversations, shared wisdom, and voices that matter. Today, we're honored to share our very first episode, kicking off one of many conversations with inspiring guests and nonprofit voices. Our host, Courtney Finstad, sits down with author Mark Kenzer for a thoughtful conversation on growth and awareness. We'll also be honoring the work of Kate Clayson, founder of Bishop's Mission, in our Voices of Impact nonprofit spotlight. This episode is sponsored by Calypso Publishing, proudly amplifying stories rooted in purpose, growth, and impact. Courtney, the mic is yours.
Today, I'm joined by Mark Kenzer, the author of My Miserable Search for Enlightenment. And I'm so honored to have you here, Mark, with me as a guest for the ThriveMind Studio Podcast. I know that you've had an incredible journey. And really, we had a chance to connect recently, and I was thrilled to hear part of that journey and also about your upcoming book that is coming out. So I wanted to get to know a little bit more about your story and share with our audience here about what that story is for you and about your journey. So I know that there was a lot of, you go into your book through a journey of suffering and humility and spiritual longing and some unexpected moments of humor and grace. And so I would like to invite you into your own story here today and share with our audience a little bit more about that journey. So, first of all, I have a great question for you. What first set you on the search for enlightenment?
Probably the furthest back that comes to mind when I was about 12 years old, my oldest brother handed me a copy of Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Mm.
And I think I read it in like one sitting, kind of doubtful though, but it seemed like one sitting. I couldn't put it down. And I didn't know what it was about it that attracted me so much. But I wanted that type of life. When I read the book, I related to the life of the Buddha.
And what was that specifically that you related to when you share that with me?
I think that the common thread through the book is when Buddha was, had left his family and was searching, and then he went back looking for work, he told whoever it was, his employers or anybody he'd meet, is that he could think, he could wait, and he could fast. And I had no idea why that attracted me because, like I said, I couldn't have been 12 or 13 years old. But those three things just stuck. And yeah, so that was the start of it.
So
And
early on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I should point out, I didn't really follow a Buddhist path at all. But it didn't matter. It opened the door for me.
And so thinking back to that moment, do you know now what that means to you? The book Siddhartha.
Yeah, I think those three things are really important. There's nothing coming to us. And when it does come, most of us don't want what's come. And being able to fast is the first step, or one of the first steps, of getting out of bodily consciousness. I mean, at first it takes right into it. I did spend time fasting after reading that book, or maybe at a later age, to see what that was about. But it does turn off your bodily identification pretty quickly, which is very helpful.
Well,
And
on that
thinking,
note,
the third thing, thinking, we have to get beyond that too. I don't know why Hermann Hesse used that, because not thinking, you can make a lot more advancement than thinking, but we all go through thinking. And it's important, what you do learn from thinking is that, and I'm quoting the Bhagavad Gita, is above the mind is the intellect, and above the intellect is the soul. So the end game is the allow the soul to be back in control, because right now our egos have commandeered our minds and our awareness.
You say that as in present tense. Can you share with me what you're maybe referencing in the world today?
You mean how it applies to my life,
Yeah.
or or what?
Or
Or what?
or what
Well,
you're referring to in that statement.
when I was going through a number of dark nights of the soul that I talk about in the book, the one thing I realized I had to do was let go. I had to stop
Mm,
identifying with the story, because it is just a story. It's just ego. It's false ego, because real ego is I am. Like if you take it the way probably Freud mentioned it, is that, yeah, we have ego. We have recognition we are, or I think, therefore I am. But anything you add after that is a false identity. I'm not my car. I'm not my family. I'm not my job. I'm not my
mhm.
money. Those are all designations. So if we give up those bodily designations, and this soul will slowly start taking back over, because it's always there. The soul is part and parcel of the universe. It's not different from God. So it's right. It's
Mm.
actually part, but we've chosen to try and be independent from it, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's a really meaningful distinction to make for folks who might be struggling with some identity crises today, especially with job loss or loss of identity in that way, and really seeking meaning and purpose and other things. But how can you perhaps share with me and our audience how you were able to detach from that and maybe guide others through the same journey?
Okay, well, this is like a
Only
60
a
something.
30-minute segment,
Yeah,
right? But yeah.
yeah, this is a 60 something year journey, and this has nothing to do with what you realize from previous lifetimes too. But
Yeah.
the only lifetime you have to worry about is this lifetime. So
Yeah.
ask me again what the question is so I can narrow it down.
Sure. So just maybe thinking about others who are struggling with identity and maybe tying too much pressure to being something in particular or being someone in particular. How do we loosen that so that we can realize that we're all maybe connected in a different way? Or how did you do that in your journey?
Well, I think in my journey, I did it a few ways, but one of the main ways is stop trying to be somebody.
Hmm.
That's probably the most important thing. And to associate with great souls. And we can do that through meditating. Of course, in the beginning, when you're meditating, you're undoing, you're allowing things to settle down. But after that, you can associate with other entities who are also meditating in the universe. And you can do it by reading great spiritual books,
Mm.
spiritual class, Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the numerous Buddhist scriptures that are out there. I mean, there's a lot of material out there. And if you have the opportunity, you can try finding a spiritual master.
Mm.
But I would caution that in this age, it's very difficult to find a real bona fide enlightened soul.
Sure. And were you able to find one for yourself?
Yeah, I've had association with them, but the reason I said you can do it through meditation is because that's how it first happened to me. When I first
Mm.
started great souls started appearing to me, or coming to me in dreams or in meditation. And at first I didn't accept it. Then I realized how real it was.
Mm.
And they're there. And it's also not easy not to make it something, simple. Because getting out of this atmosphere in meditation is difficult in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
And so
meditation.
first,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was just going
Continue
to say
on your.
my learning to meditate was 5 minutes at the most in the beginning. Now I can sit for hours. It's no problem. So, but in the beginning, a lot of things appear to you that you think are transcendental, and they're not. So I'm just
Mm.
saying, be cautious and be wise, and that's why you want to read spiritual books, because this path has been laid very well. Just reading the New Testament, just reading the words of Jesus wake you up if you keep reading them. No deepening.
So I was sitting with our last conversation, and it came through to me that meditation was really important in your life, and you're also grounded in many spiritual practices. Could you share with me a little bit more about the experience of meditation and what that brought for you in your life?
Well, meditation taught me to quiet the mind,
Mm.
because if the mind's not quiet, you're not meditating. There's a saying, it's a pun, but it's meditation is not what you think.
Yeah, I
You'll
love
find
that.
when you meditate, we do a lot of thinking, just like we do a lot of crazy things when we're dreaming. But there is a part of dreaming that's transcendental. There is a part when you're asleep that you're actually with the divine.
Mhm.
It's so far away and unconscious to us that when we wake up, we're not even aware that we've had that pastime.
Yeah. And something that also stuck with me was that silence is a really profound practice of yours, and it also hits home with me as well to create that spaciousness. How has that impacted your life?
Well, I think at a young age, I don't know if I heard this or just thought about it, but I had the thought, don't say anything if you can't improve the silence. And so
Mm,
I started practicing that because I realized whenever somebody was speaking with me or I was speaking with them, I'm talking about throughout childhood and teenage years, I was actually just waiting for them to be through so I could talk. And when I
very
realized that, I
common.
thought, yeah, I thought I better stop talking. Let's just be here. And you don't need to say anything. And that's when you're really with somebody that you're comfortable with.
Oh, I completely agree. How disarming that is to be in the presence of someone who really listens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really love that. And so back to meditation a little bit. I'd love to hear a couple of stories from you about maybe those, I don't know what to call them, visitors, or if you have another word for them that came to you in maybe some of those meditations or those dreams that you've mentioned that were
Okay.
profound for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, meditating is a little different than dreams, but when
Yeah.
they are on a transcendental platform, they can be the same.
Mhm.
So because a lot of our dreaming is wild. I wouldn't take a lot of it seriously. But when a divine person comes to you, it's a divine person coming to you. I don't care if you're
Mm.
dreaming, you're walking down the street, or you're seeing the person physically. We depend too much on our physical reality, but we are not physical beings. We're spiritual
Mhm.
beings. We're pre-material body. So I don't put a lot into that. So to answer your question, probably one of the most profound or early ones was when I first was getting on a spiritual path, and I would talk to Christians because I went through a phase of wanting to understand Christianity. I wasn't really raised with a religion. I was raised in a Jewish household. And of course, so Jesus wasn't in my household.
Mhm.
But I was very attracted to reading the words of Jesus. And I started going to churches and to where Catholic churches go out, like cathedrals. But I found that what they were talking about wasn't what I was reading about. So that's why I wanted to get into meditation. Start thinking, I want to contact Jesus. I want to find
Mm.
out for myself what is real and who this person is. And so that's what I started learning to meditate more deeply. And what had happened is at that time, I would point out when I would speak to Christians that Jesus wasn't a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant with blonde hair and blue eyes, and that he obviously had a look like the area he was from. He was Aramaic. He was from Israel, or what was Israel at the time, and probably had dark hair and olive skin. Shortly after having these conversations a few times, Jesus came to me while I was sleeping, and it was very real. It was just like me. I was in your presence, in
Hmm.
my presence. Why? And he said, "Why do you care how they want to see me? What is that to you?" And it really woke me up, really shocked me because it was none of my business. It's his business.
Mm.
Yeah. So that was the first thing. And hearing that, it wasn't oh, Jesus is going to come and just sweep me off my feet and love me.
Yeah.
Actually chastising me. That was the start to me to realize I had to straighten out.
What does straighten out mean to you?
To give up my concepts about who Jesus is. I was hearing from other churchgoers or whoever who hadn't met Jesus. They might have had some experience, and I don't doubt their experience. I didn't doubt my experience when I was reading the New Testament. But I want to know the words that I was reading were his words, not somebody else's. Because there's a lot of going on in Western scriptures, or what we call Western scriptures. They're not handed down, and they weren't put into print that far back.
Yeah.
Originally handed down verbally and orally, we received them. That stopped.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating. And I'm sure that there are some listeners in our audience that may go, wow, this is a wild story. How do we ground those listeners in this truth for you?
You mean the fact that these personalities are real and that you can contact them? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of disconnection in our world. I think that there's so much that is not can't be seen, right? We are energy beings. I truly believe that as well. And for those out there that may go, this is a crazy kind of story, how can we allow space for them to let this land more clearly? And maybe even create an opening for our listeners.
Sure. I mean, for me, the common sense thing is, how did I get here and what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Because if life is temporary, if it's just this life, then it's all meaningless, right? And then I have nothing to fear. And if I'm eternally existing, which is what I've experienced, I still have nothing to fear. But then it becomes very awake and alive. And then you have homework because you realize it isn't just going to come to an end when I leave this body. And that's another thing to add to what other experiences I've had with friends who have left their body and me contacting them afterwards, or they come into me. And a lot of people have had experience of a loved one moving on and then contacting them. The one thing you realize is they're still who they were. They might be in a different body, a different surrounding, but it's still them, and they still have work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's a wake-up call to realize, use this opportunity while I'm conscious of being who I am and what the work is. Because you don't know. You can go, there's some dream state when you leave your body and not know who you are for a long time until you wake up out of it. You have this opportunity now. Just the idea that you're questioning means there's a part of you that wants to know.
I love that. I think that everyone is questioning and perhaps distracting themselves from the question at hand.
Absolutely.
So we're really good at distracting ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Disconnecting.
Yes,
Yeah.
because birth means death, and we're all afraid of that. As soon as you take birth, I remember as a child when death was explained to me, I was like, oh my God. You mean, I remember asking my mother, I'm going to die? And she said, you're going to die? What's going to happen to me? And it just it started the wheels turning because what am I doing here? If we already know this, so why are we doing anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my mother said, you don't have to worry about it now. That's wrong. We do need to worry about it. We do need to wake up who we eternally are, or we're going to be miserable. We'll be unhappy, or we'll just be trying to make what isn't more important than what is. And that's what we do in our material lives.
Yeah. I can agree with that sense in so many ways. And it leads me to kind of the question of your book in general. How did you come up with that title, My Miserable Search for Enlightenment?
It was after really some very dark periods. And all through my life, I was writing down notes just of things that happened, like the Jesus story. I had Krishna appear to me one time too, actually a couple of times, and other saintly people. And I just wrote them down because I thought nobody's ever going to believe this. I don't even believe it in the beginning. I was questioning it myself, but I would write them down. And then when I started going through a lot of pain, and then we probably haven't gotten to in my book, but there's this story about meeting a very demonic person. Somebody who told me they
Not
worked
one
for.
of your horses?
No, my horse are one.
I know.
No, yeah, no, my horse was named Satan. Was named. It wasn't named Satan. Yeah, one of my horses. You're talking about our previous conversation. But
Yeah.
in the book, I talked. Yeah, Lucifer. Lucifer was an amazing horse, and Lucifer means from the light. But no, I met a woman in Toronto who let me know she worked for the devil. And it woke me up to something I wasn't aware of. I was never raised with anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I found out very quickly it's very real. There are demonic people in the world on this
Interesting.
on this planet. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're not aliens. I'm not. It's just to be clear, because I know a lot of people think aliens are coming to do something. Here, there's basically devotees, and there's people who are the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, people who are ascending and people who are descending. Maybe that's a nice way to say it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good visual as well.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, we're on a middle planet. We're on a lower middle planet. I used to always think, oh, this is really great. But now I'm starting to see as it's turning. I can see we're going back into a kind of a darker period. And not long ago, we came out of the dark ages.
Yeah. It sounds like you've come through a lot of dark periods yourself. Could you maybe give me one or two examples that really brought forth this search of meaning and enlightenment for you?
Oh, you mean it applies to the darkness?
You have mentioned some dark periods in your own life, and I'm curious about also the wake-up call, and they can be two very different things, but perhaps they're one. And so if there was one period of darkness that brought forth another awakening for you, or how did that come about in your own life?
Well, it'll find you. The dark periods found me, just like this woman found me or I found her. We all have darkness in us. There's a dark side of God. In India, they call it the backside of God, because it's there for a reason. It's there because we want it. And if you don't want it, then stop associating with it. And then it won't be there. It will test you. And that's the whole beginning of the story of Jesus, how he was tested by, I don't know what they call him, Satan, I guess, in the New Testament. It tested him, offered him whatever he wanted materially to see if he wanted it or not. So everybody will be tested. We're in a material world. That's not going to happen. Every great soul's gotten tested. Buddha has a lot of stories about that. It happened to Krishna. It happened to, well, not Krishna, so it happened to Ram. It happened to Jesus. Even contemporary people like Gandhi or Martin Luther King or John Kennedy, you can see the darkness they had to confront in their life.
What darkness have you had to confront in your own life?
What just came to mind is I had an extremely intense dream where I was fighting with the devil. Oh, not with the devil. People think of it different. Death personified, the Grim Reaper. I'm walking, and I meet the Grim Reaper. And then he starts trying to kill me, and I'm fighting with him. And it is so real, Yeah. And I'm just sweating, and I'm fighting. I'm fighting for my life. And I realize he's not having fun with me. He wants to kill me. And I don't know what to do. Yeah. And it's real. And I'm trying to keep my composure while I'm physically fighting him. And so we're tumbling and rolling and fighting the way men do. And he keeps getting the best of me. And finally, somehow I maneuver it to where I'm on top of him. And I realize I have to kill him. And just as I'm about to kill him, he looks at me and smiles and turns into a baby.
Oh, my.
And I woke up. Yeah, and I woke up and just went, oh, my God, how profound. That's right. The joke's on me.
Huh. So what did you
you
take from that?
because there is no death. There's no real death. So I'm fighting my own fears.
Mm-hmm.
And there is somebody personified. I don't think there aren't demonic people personified. There are. They're in our reality for us to learn from it. So when he turned into a baby, I woke up laughing. I went, he's right. Well, what am I fighting? I'm fighting myself. Even if he does take my physical body, I'm still going to be, I'm going to end up baby somewhere else starting this again unless I transcend this. You can transcend the material reality. You don't have to come to an earthly, gross material plane. You can go into heavenly or even further to spiritual planets.
Sounds nice.
Well, that's, I mean, Christianity is based on a lot of heavenly type stuff of Judaism, but there's also, they talk about, what heaven, I think it's John the Divine in Revelations talks about going to the seventh heaven. He's talking about higher realms. There are spiritual realms that aren't quasi-material.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a lot of the New Testament, they'll talk about heavenly planets or how people will say they can get what they want. Well, that's still material.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to get gold or have this palace to live in, you're going to this and that. That's still material consciousness. Transcendental consciousness is letting all that go. And it's all consciousness, bottom line.
Yeah. And so, in addition to meditation and reading spiritual texts, I'm curious if there are other practices that you embody or bring into your life that have helped you on this miserable search for enlightenment that you could share with our audience that might be helpful for them.
Yeah, I try to use everything. In the beginning, I used whatever tools I had. So at that time, it started out maybe with the New Testament.
Okay.
I read Autobiography of a Yogi numerous times by Paramahansa Yogananda. It got me into reading the Bhagavad Gita. And then from the Bhagavad Gita, I started reading other of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, India. I started reading a lot of other books like the Srimad Bhagavatam, which I wrote a commentary on. That totally changed. But the Bhagavad Gita is a great starting point. And the Bhagavad Gita for me made no sense when I started it. I started reading a copy, went to the library, got 2 or 3 copies, started comparing them, wasn't getting it, kept reading, started associating with other people who got it. And that's something that's important why I mentioned about if you can find a spiritual master or some type of teacher, somebody who experienced God or has association with Krishna or Jesus or whoever you're attracted to, they can give you God. They can give you at least that person up to the point of their realization. So that's very important. So that's that's how I started associating. I probably have read the Gita 100 times. It gets deeper each time. I used to give classes in it. And that's why I gave classes, because it kept deepening it for me. So if you don't have somebody to associate with, take a verse out of the Gita that you're attracted to and just meditate on it. Sit with it or memorize it. It'll deep change your life. They're transcendental words.
Could you give me maybe 2 or 3 things from that book that have impacted you greatly as you've deepened into your learning?
Sure. To set the scene quickly, Arjuna, who's a cousin of Krishna, and Krishna is the supreme absolute, is on a battlefield, and he has to do his job and defend the planet. It's a world war going on at that time. This took place about 5,000 years ago. But when it came time for Krishna to fight, he didn't want to kill his kinsman. He was afraid. And he told Krishna, I can't fight. And Krishna said to him, never was there a time when you and I did not exist, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into a new body at death, and a self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So what Krishna is doing there, he's waking up Arjuna to who he eternally is, reminding him he's not the body. So that's the first thing you have to realize. You're not the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then that opens up a whole world when you realize you're just here temporarily in a body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So one other verse, since you asked for a couple of them, another one that stuck with me is he tells Arjuna later on, because he starts explaining all the different sciences of yoga. I'm not talking about physical yoga. I'm talking about the science of consciousness. He says, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the doer, and never consider not doing your duty. This is very important, because things are going to come and we're not going to like them. But it's our duty. If they're coming to us, we have to confront it. We have to see it for what it is. And if you can get close to the things that make you the most afraid, you'll grow. You'll grow tremendously. Don't run from them, because running from them just creates more problems.
And that's where the distractions come in, right?
Right. That's why we distract it. Who wants to face reality?
Oh, I just love those little nuggets. And it reminds me, as we wrap up our conversation today, if there's any other resources that you could name that have been particularly beneficial in supporting your journey.
Other resources, like I said, besides my miserable search for enlightenment, I wrote a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verses. It's an amazing work, but nobody wants to read 18,000 verses. So I took out all the verses about waking up, because that's what we're here for. It's like it's like what Jefferson did with the Bible. He just took out the words of Jesus, and what they call the red letter edition. He said, that's all I'm interested in. So that's all I was interested in. The rest is good, but you have to learn more history to understand it. So I took the references to waking up and wrote commentary on it. And so it's very small. It's easy for the average person to take on. You don't have to take on 18,000 verses. So that's called Awaken into Enlightenment. And so if somebody reads my book, likes it, or has read the Gita, or wants some association, I would suggest doing that, picking up that book. If you like it, read the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Hare Krishna movement is whose copy I used of that, Bhaktivedanta Swami.
That's wonderful. And also, for someone who might be, we're all on the path, but for someone who might be on the path of deepening their spirituality and meaning and purpose in life, I really truly believe that meditation is such a grounding practice. I know you mentioned that you started with just 5 minutes a day. What is your recommendation for someone that may be starting on this journey within meditation?
There's a lot of schools of meditation out there. I happen to start with Yogananda's. When I read Autobiography of a Yogi, I wrote to them and I found out they had lessons. And that's where I started learning to meditate. If you're not attracted to meditating, you can chant. Chanting is just a form of meditation. It's very important. Doesn't matter what religion is, you're going to wake up your spiritual consciousness by chanting. So we start by hearing, then we hear, and then we remember, and then we speak about it. So
I love that. And maybe just starting small or finding something that feels true to them. Would you say that's fair?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, anything that's come to you is where you belong at the moment.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I so appreciate our conversation today, Mark. It's such a pleasure to be with you and in conversations like this. And I love to imagine that conversations like this are happening around the world, and hopefully they are. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. You're making it happen. Appreciate it.
As we close this episode, we want to turn our attention to the people doing the work that carries these ideas into the real world. Today, we're honored to highlight Bishop's Mission and speak with founder Kate Clayson. Bishop's Mission is more than a nonprofit. It is a community of former first responders who have worn the boots, answered the call, and understand the lasting weight of service. Their mission is simple and powerful: to ensure that no responder, and no responder's K9, ever carries that burden alone. Through K9 and handler peer support, call-out services, wellness networks, emergency veterinary support, and education, their work continues long after the shift ends. Because the mission isn't over when the shift is done, and support doesn't stop with the handler. We're honored to be joined today by Bishop's Mission founder, Kate Clayson. How would you describe Bishop's Mission to someone hearing about it for the first time, beyond the word rescue?
Taken for a rescue, but we're not a rescue at all. We are actually peer support for first responders. I'm a former first responder myself. Bishop is the president of the organization, I say, and he is my Dalmatian dog, and he's trained in PTS. And we actually get called out and work with first responders after critical incidents and help out through their trauma processing. So it's not a rescue, but we do also help canines for departments. So a lot of departments are getting their own PTS dogs or their therapy dogs coming into their programs. But unfortunately, those dogs are actually categorized and have no real budget for them. So that's coming out of the wellness program itself. And so the other part of Bishop's mission of what we're doing is actually supplying those dogs with supplies or alternative therapies that they may need so they can keep in good shape for the job that they're doing.
What does your peer support work look like? And how do K9 teams support first responders during critical incidents?
I've actually been going out here for a while now. I've probably actually been doing the work for a little over 2 years, but I only went nonprofit status about a little over a year ago. And so it's making the relationships and networking with the departments, getting to know different responders. I do work with other organizations as well. So I'm a peer liaison for Afterwatch Foundation and also Strength and Shield. And they are in 2 different parts of the state. So we are mainly in Phoenix, but we get called out all the way down to Tucson and then some if it's a critical incident and they want a canine unit for their critical incident, then we can come in as an actual peer team. I'm certified to be able to do that and fall under state statute confidentiality. So it allows them to have a dog on hand if the department doesn't have a dog. So we've gone out, we've networked, we've done conferences, we network with different departments so they can call us out directly.
Before Bishop's Mission existed, was there a moment or a story that made this personal for you?
It's very personal for me. I say that this is my passion project because of the fact that I grew up in a first responder household. I grew up in a fire department. My grandfather, great-grandfather, my dad, my uncles, they were all firefighters. And so growing up in that environment was absolutely natural for us. And I didn't really know any different. When I got older, I got licensed as an EMT, but then I ultimately went into 911 dispatch and did that for a few years. I taught dispatchers and then decided to go on the other side of the radio and finished out my career as a patrol officer. I also taught at the police academy. So I have many different aspects and perspectives of being a first responder. When I was on the job, most of my career was on midnights. And unfortunately, we forget that we're human. And when you see trauma after trauma and deal with trauma after trauma and the people's, and you have to be the strong one, eventually sometimes you break down. And we see that with our first responder suicide rates. Those numbers need to start coming down, and that's why we're out here. It was in what I call my darkest moment when I was in that suicidal state. And I lived with just my 2 dogs at the time, Max and Chloe. And they were the only thing that I had because I didn't have family that was in the state that I was patrolling in. So I didn't have family. I didn't have anybody to really come home to and reflect off of. But those guys pulled me out of the moment and saved me from ending it because of the fact that all I kept thinking was, where are they going to go? Who's going to take care of them? I didn't want them to be separated. I didn't want them to go to a rescue. They were the family that I had at that moment in time. And it was the one thing that gave me purpose to not pull that trigger. And that's why I'm very passionate about adding canine assistance and having Bishop. And I have another dog in training right now that we can go and help first responders.
Tell us about Bishop.
Bishop. Oh, Bishop. Bishop is my Dalmatian dog. I know it's one of those things, right? I grew up in a firehouse household and we had a Dalmatian named Sparky. He was an awesome dog. And I had my dogs as an adult. They ended up passing on. And I actually had started working with a different nonprofit group, and I was supposed to be the head of their therapy dog division. And I was trying to think of what I would want to utilize to go into a department. The dogs that I had at the time, they were smaller, and I wanted a dog that would be big enough for them to really kind of love on. And I was going back and forth with different breeds. I'm in the pet profession world now, so I know what I'm kind of looking for as far as what breed I wanted. And so I went with the Dalmatian because I figured the Dalmatian would relate to the responders. And it's something a little bit different. And I got really lucky. Bishop was actually a rescue, and I reached out to different rescues, and the one in California answered. And oddly enough, all the Dalmatians that I inquired about that I saw on the website, that wasn't any of those were available, but they said, we have one that I think would fit what you're looking for, and his name is Bishop. So I actually had to Google and find that picture because I had no idea who Bishop was. And when I saw the picture, I just knew there was just something about it. There was that connection there that I just knew. And so I drove out to California and went and picked him up and brought him back. And really, ultimately, Bishop has completely changed my life. I hadn't thought about so much going into peer support prior to Bishop coming in. And then once he came in and we were able to start making department visits, I saw what we can add with that. And therefore, I turned it into more of a peer support team versus a therapy dog team.
For someone who wants to help but isn't sure how, what's one small way they can make a meaningful difference?
People can go to www.bishopsmission.org. And we also do have our social media pages. So we have Bishop's Mission under Facebook, and then Bishop's Mission on Instagram and LinkedIn. The website I'm still working and building up on, but we are starting to blog more and more so people can follow more and more stories. What is hard is the fact that a lot of what we do, especially when we're working with the first responders and critical incidents, a lot of that is confidential. So just know that even though we're not necessarily putting stories and pictures out there, we are still working out there, and your donations are definitely supporting everything that we can do.
Thank you, Kate Clayson, for joining us and sharing the heart behind Bishop's mission. Scan the QR code to learn more and help make a difference.
Thank you for spending this time with us on the ThriveMind Studio Podcast. We're deeply grateful to our guests for sharing their voices and lived experience, and to our host, Courtney Finstad, for holding space with such care and presence. This episode is sponsored by Calypso Publishing and proudly produced by Techne Innovations. The ThriveMind app is now available for download on both iOS and Android platforms. And wherever you are on your journey, we hope this conversation meets you right where you are.